Hi, I'm Sarah with the Hobby Lobby Creative Studio. Welcome to our Sew This Bedroom series. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this custom throw blanket to add a finished look and a little extra warmth to any room of your house. To make a throw like mine, be sure to check out our printable for a detailed list of everything you'll need. All right, let's get started. I've cut out my fabric to 55 inches by 78 inches, and it's pressed and ready to go. I've also pressed my muslin and bias tape pieces. Now to give my blanket a clean and completed look on both sides, I'm going to add this muslin as a backer. I want my muslin backer fabric to be the exact same size as the printed fabric, but instead of cutting the muslin to 55 inches by 78 inches on its own, I'm going to lay the fabric on top of the muslin with the right sides outward and pin them together. Make sure and place your pins 2 or 3 inches in from the edge so you don't have to move them when adding your bias tape around the edges later. To keep the fabric from shifting, I'm also placing straight pins throughout the rest of the fabric, turning them in different directions. Now cut your muslin to match the edge of the printed fabric. By doing it this way, you ensure that the two pieces are exactly the same in shape and size. Now for this project, I'm using a 1/2 inch pre-made bias tape to finish out the edges of my blanket. I've gone ahead and connected the pieces end to end so I have enough length to go around the entire blanket. If you're not familiar with how to do this, check out our Learn to Sew How to Make Bias Tape and Piping video, where we not only show you how to connect your bias pieces, but also how to make custom bias tape to match any project perfectly. In that video, we also go a little more in depth about how helpful these clips can be for use in different projects in place of pins. I decided to use them today because they help hold my bias around my blanket nice and flat instead of wavy like pinning tends to do. So let's get clipping. With your fabric and muslin still pinned together, begin adding your bias tape around the edges, clipping it in place as you go. Be sure you are placing both of the fabric layers all the way into the crease of the bias tape. Bias tape is not only functional, as it will keep the edges from fraying when you wash the blanket, but it also gives the throw a nice, finished, professional look. When you get to a corner, you'll want to create a crisp 90-degree turn with your bias tape to give you a nice clean corner. Here's how to do that. You want your last clip to be about 1 inch away from the corner. Pinch your bias tape right at the corner. Now, flatten the tape along the next edge as you place the fabric inside it. You'll notice little wings forming at the corner. Press those down flat, giving you a tiny mitered corner. Carefully pin this corner into place, making sure you're pinning that wing on both the front and the back side of the mitered corner. I chose to use pins here so I can get really close to my corner before pulling out the pin and sewing it in place. Once you've clipped your bias tape and pinned the corners, you're ready to join the ends together. You'll need to start by trimming the ends of your bias tape. Here's how to do that. You'll want the two ends to overlap about 2 inches. So, find that measurement and unfold your bias tape so the inside of the tape is facing up. Now, you're going to cut this at an angle, so it visually matches the other seam in the bias tape. To make sure you're cutting it correctly, look back at the angle of the last seam. You're actually going to cut at the opposite angle of this. So since my last seam is angling to the left, I will cut this one angling to the right. Make the short side of the cut at about the 2-inch mark you found. Now, when it's folded under, it will actually lay angled to the left like the others. So, on the end you just cut, unfold the bias tape completely open, then fold the raw edge you just cut in, and press to hold the fold. The last step here is to lay the two ends together so the right one is on bottom and the left one is on top. Completely open the other end of the bias tape and then refold them together, following the original folds in the bias tape. Clip it in place and you're ready to sew. Sew closely to the inner edge of the bias tape and remove the clips as you go. At the corners, leave your needle down in the fabric so you can pivot your fabric without interrupting your stitches. Then continue sewing all the way around. Again, backstitching at the very end to secure your stitches in place. And that's it! One custom throw ready to spruce up any room of your house. For some added decorative flair, you could even add a tassel trim to the edges, like on the lampshade and the Roman shade, to really tie all your decor together. That's all for today, everyone. Be sure to check out the other videos in our Sew This Bedroom series, and I'll see you here again next time at the Hobby Lobby Creative Studio.